The main purpose of the information under the Success at Last heading is to A. Describe the obstacles that Peck faced before she reached her goal, B. Show that Peck suffered permanent physical damage when she climbed Mount Huascaran, C. Explain why Peck was angry with one of her Swiss guards, or D. Explain why the climb to the top of Mount Huascaran was so expensive. In order to answer this question, we need information from the 5th and 6th paragraphs, which I have posted here. The main purpose, similar to the main idea, is the reason behind why the author wrote this passage. What message was he trying to get across to the reader? As we've seen, the answer is A, to describe the obstacles that Peck faced before she reached her goal. A good method when trying to figure out the main purpose or idea of a passage is to look through each of our choices and ask ourselves, based on the information found in this section, would this make sense to be the author's main goal in writing? For example, B. To show that Peck suffered permanent physical damage when she climbed Mount Huascaran. Although the 6th paragraph does say that Peck and her team suffered from frostbite, nowhere does it say that the damage was permanent. And even if it did, because this is only described in one sentence out of 2 paragraphs, it wouldn't make sense for this to be the author's main point in writing his message. C. The main purpose was to explain why Peck was angry with one of her Swiss guides. The end of the 6th paragraph describes how, during a moment of distraction, one of the guides took advantage of Peck's distraction to climb the few remaining feet to the summit so that he could boast that he had been there before her. Peck was understandably angry. Again, although Peck being angry with one of her Swiss guides is clearly mentioned in the text, it's not mentioned at all in the first paragraph of the passage, and only in the last few sentences of the 2nd paragraph. Therefore, it doesn't make sense for this to be the main purpose of this passage. D. The main purpose was to explain why the climb to the top of Mount Huascaran was so expensive. Although it's true that the passage starts off by telling us that in 1908 Peck scraped together the funds for yet another expedition to Mount Huascaran and that she hired 2 Swiss guides, nowhere else in the passage do we see any reasoning behind why it was so expensive to climb Mount Huascaran. For the same reasons as B and C, this can be marked as incorrect. Which brings us back to our original answer, A, to describe the obstacles that Peck faced before she reached her goal. The passage describes several different obstacles Peck faced, including one of her guides becoming ill, bringing the wrong kind of film, hacking steps into the steep ice, suffering from frostbite, and more. And because the text ends by telling us that on September 2nd, 1908, Annie Peck finally stood at the top of Mount Huascaran, we can see that the content of this passage perfectly matches what's suggested in this option as the main purpose, describing the obstacles before she reached her goal. Therefore, this can be marked as our final answer.